Well, good morning and welcome to the Between the Sundays podcast. I'm here today joined with Garret Snyder, who is our communications director, also over local and global missions, a lot of different other areas in our church. And then also Pastor Connor, who is our worship and production pastor and also does a lot of other duties around Generations Church. But thank you guys for hopping on with me. I'm super excited. One, for what God is doing here at Generations Church, but then also for your part here at Generations Church, what you guys do, what you bring to the table, but then your heart for God. So thank you for getting on with us today and joining me. Well, today we're going to recap this past Sunday, which we kicked off a new series, a summer series, which, I mean, I'm very excited about it. We talked about it a couple of times. We've been brought up last week on the podcast and then in my message on Sunday where when we presented the series to the congregation, there was this like huge gasp. And I was like, I don't know if it was out of excitement or out of like nervousness.
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah. I think a little bit of both too. But it's called Summer 7. And we're looking at the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, the 7 letters to those 7 churches that Jesus appears to the Apostle John in Revelation 1 and inspires him to write these words to these 7 churches. And basically over this series, we're going to look at what Jesus was saying to these 7 churches. Like, what did he want them, to learn from him? He talks about some things that they do good, some positives, but then he talks about things that that they need to fix, that they need to kind of like look at themselves and like, hey, fix these things. You're doing these things great, but fix these things. So what is Jesus saying to those churches? But then we're going to ask the question, what is Jesus saying to Generations Church? But then also go even further in saying, what is Jesus saying through these words to these churches, to us personally? And that could be a little scary.
I think there's some more response in that moment because it kind of felt like being in school and being like, pop quiz at the end of this, baby. Like, we're going to take a look at kind of what we're doing here. And like, if we feel like, obviously we feel like we're doing a good job, like representing like what God's trying to do through this church. But I think it's going to be exciting to kind of get through these letters. And then, like you said, just kind of self-evaluate and see how we feel like God is moving effectively in this church, and then ways that we can even improve on what we're doing. So.
So this past Sunday was week 1. So I kicked it off week 1 with the church out of Ephesus, and we looked at the church of Ephesus, and in Revelations 2, 1 through 7, and basically to summarize it, Jesus was saying, hey, you are doing some positive things. Like he talked about like how you're working hard, you're persevering, you're enduring under trial, like you're not growing weary, like you hate wickedness, and like you call it out. And so like they're sticking to the truth of the word of God, like they're doing some great things. I think that's a great job performance. To start off with. But he says this that really is challenging, and we kind of like looked at ourselves like, how can we get better and how can we learn from this? He's saying, but you're lacking in this one area, and you've lost sight of your first love. Like you've lost your first love and the passion that you had for Jesus. You've lost sight of that and you've lost it. And so it's kind of like you're missing the main point. Like you're doing a lot of great things, but you're missing the main point. And so we talked about our lives. Are we missing the main point? We can do some great things, but if we lose sight of our love for Jesus and our passion for Jesus, like we're missing it. We're missing it as a church, but then we're also missing it as just people if we lose sight of our first love. So Garret, what was your, kind of biggest takeaway from this past Sunday's message, and how did it challenge you? And, what was just your takeaway from it?
I think just to start, I was excited kind of just talking to you through this week and knowing that you're preparing to this is week 1 of this series, this kind of content, 7 weeks, it's a big week to kick off. And I thought you did it I thought you set it up super well. We took some time at the beginning of the sermon just to kind of like you kind of just explain to everybody listening, but just explain to the church kind of what this is going to look like. And and then the illustration with the mailbox and the letters that we're going to pull out of there each week. And I
Yeah.
just feel like you did a really good job kind of setting it up and then kind of flowing into your message. But yeah, just I mean to piggyback on what you said, it's easy sometimes, to live, you feel like you're living like a good Christian life, you're a good
Mhm.
person, you have a good heart, you feel like you treat people well.
Yeah.
But if you don't prioritize worship and prayer and making alone time to read the word and to spend time kind of like talking to God, prioritizing that relationship with him, then what's it all worth really?
Mhm.
So just making sure that you prioritize that and make it a point to not only kind of live your life like in a character of a way that you feel like you need to like as a Christian, but
Mhm.
just making sure that you continue just to feed into that relationship that you have with God. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important that, we can do a lot of great things, and we can live righteously, and we can, not sin, but
yeah,
if we're not pursuing after God, like
Yeah.
that's most important. In Matthew 6 it says seek, it's talking about, when you worry and when you're stressed about what you're going to eat and what you're going to drink. It says in Matthew 6 verse 33 to seek God first in his kingdom. Like,
Mhm.
and I think that's main priority number
yeah,
1, to love God first in our lives, to love people, but to pursue God. This past Sunday, um, on as well as the message, it was just an incredible move of the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
Like you felt it
mhm,
immediately as worship started, even before the service. Like God moved in a powerful, powerful way through worship, through the pastoral moment, and through just the whole service. Pastor Connor, what was your kind of like as you look back on this Sunday? What was your takeaway from this past Sunday as you led worship and you led the production team as well? Like, what was your takeaway? And kind of highlights from this past Sunday service.
Well, I think for both services, first service, our 9 o'clock service, we walked in and 9 o'clock's always hard because it's an earlier time,
Yeah,
and some people they're still waiting for the coffee to kick in. But
yeah.
um, something about this past Sunday,
Hmm.
even for the first service, like there felt a little bit more energy in the room.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell people were having a little bit more intimate time with God.
Hmm.
But then our second service, I mean, it was just an incredible move.
Yeah.
And I talked about this in our staff meeting, but
Hmm.
we had a portion of the service where we just kind of had to stop,
Hmm.
and just take time. And during that, as I'm leading that moment, uh, it immediately hits my mind, like, is this the right thing? Like, should
Hmm.
I be doing this, or should we be moving on?
Yeah,
Like, did
yeah.
I mishear something? And it's in those times because when you're praying for something, God to open or shut a door, normally you got time to
Hmm.
to really hear from God and get confirmation. It's in those times where you just kind of need that immediate confirmation
Hmm.
to know, like, God, is this what you
Yeah.
want to do, or should we be moving on?
Hmm.
And there was in that
Hmm.
service, there was just that immediate confirmation to me of just, this is what we need to be doing. We need to take the time. I had everybody just put an arm around somebody or
Hmm.
just pray for the person next to them. And I had my eyes closed, and when I opened my eyes, I was like, man, I hope that I hope
I
I
hope
didn't just
everyone's
say
not
all
just
this.
staring at you.
Yeah, and
yeah,
everybody's just staring at me. But I opened my eyes, and across the entire room, people were just embracing one another
Yeah.
and praying for one another. And it was just that, like I said, that immediate confirmation of just like, this is what we should be doing in this moment.
Yeah.
Because worship is not, I tell our team this, but it's not a performance. It's not a concert that we're putting on.
Hmm.
We don't do this just so we can say, hey, look at all the things we can do.
Yeah.
We do this because we want to just create the atmosphere of worship
Hmm.
and allow people in one room together to be able to comfortably be able just to worship God.
Yeah.
When you're home alone by yourself in your worship time, it's real easy to do that. But when you're in a room full of people, it's not always as easy because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that they're a little bit
More timid or
more timid.
yeah.
Yes, they're kind of shy with
Hmm.
stuff. But when you create the culture of, like, it doesn't matter whether you can really sing or you think you don't, you can't sing. It doesn't matter any
Hmm.
of that. The purpose of it is to come together and be able to just under one roof, in one room,
Hmm.
all together, just be able to sing and just give praise and glory and
Yeah.
honor to God. Because again, it's not just singing and you see the lyrics on screen, and so you're just singing along. We believe every song that we pick
Mm-hmm.
to put on a set list, like we believe those lyrics,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we may not have wrote them, but we have something that ties us to that
Mm-hmm.
song, and so there's truth behind
Yeah.
everything that we sing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a purpose for it,
Yeah.
and just being able to encounter God. So
Yeah. I love, we don't just, show up on Sunday and pick the songs. Like
yeah,
there's a lot of prayer and there's a lot of thinking and collaborating like on what we're gonna sing on Sunday. I mean, it starts weeks in advance. We
yeah,
kind of try to tie some songs along with the series that we're in if we can. But there's a lot of prayer and intentionality like behind the songs that we pick,
yeah,
behind the sermon series. Like we plan out weeks and months and year in advance, like the sermon series. So it's very intentional. So you do a very great job at leading that team, leading us in those moments. But I think over the past 2 weeks, it's and probably further along than that. I can just that's how far back my
Yeah.
brain goes. It's 2 weeks. Then it just gets a blur.
yeah,
But the past two Sundays, man, the move of God, the presence of God, the and people's response
Yeah.
to it has been incredible. So
oh yeah,
it's been a great 2 weeks, but then what God's doing here at Generous Church is phenomenal, and I love to see it. I am excited every day, like of
well,
Sunday.
and it's great to see too, because like some Sundays, we, like you were talking about, we plan out the
Hmm.
songs, and I'm very prayerful, and our team that helps put the set list together, like we're praying about it. We're not just randomly picking songs. And there's some songs that like they hit well
Hmm.
for some people in the room. And
Hmm.
then like in the past 2 weeks, it seems like there's just been one or two songs that just really hit across the
Yeah.
entire room.
Hmm.
So again, there's times where it may not feel like the entire room is getting it, and
Yeah.
there it's specifically for a couple of people. And then there's times where we are intentional about making sure that like this one's kind of for everybody.
Yeah.
And on those Sundays where it's almost like we're just all what feels like we're all going through the same thing at the same
Hmm.
moment. And it's those times where that's when you have that unity in the
Hmm.
room. And I think when you have that unity starting out in worship,
Hmm.
then it just creates more energy. So that way,
Yeah.
when you or Pastor Jeremy or whoever steps up on the stage to deliver the message, like it's just you can get into it a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
more, just
Hmm.
because like you've already started your day right.
Hmm.
What feels
Yeah. Yeah.
like so.
What kind of a testimony? We'll move on after this, but a testimony to that is, I haven't told you this, but I about had to like walk out of the room when you started singing Heart of Worship, because I had been listening to that song all week, and I so many times about said to you after, I was singing after Available. I was
Yeah.
like, after that song, if you just go into Heart of Worship, I about just got up there and started singing it. I did not hear your rehearsal on it. And then all of a sudden, out of Worthy of It All, you started singing Heart of Worship. And I was like, I'm gonna have to leave this room.
Well, here I am to worship.
Here I am to worship.
Yeah.
Sorry. Here
No,
I
you're
am to
good.
worship. And I was like, I'm about to have to leave this room, because I hadn't said anything to anybody about that, but I'd felt that song on my like spirit all week, and I had kind of listened to it along with kind of the other songs of the set list as
Yeah.
well. But I was like, okay, this is definitely God. Like I've been thinking and worshiping to this song all week long. And here it is. So great week, great
Yeah.
Sunday, phenomenal job across the board. G Kids, guest services, worship and production,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. Phenomenal service, phenomenal day. And it's going to be a great series. Summer 7, week 2, which is this Sunday.
Yep.
Pastor Jeremy is going to be preaching, so we're excited about that. But then also coming up this month, we have a lot of great things planned this summer. And it kind of starts next week with youth camp. Our high schoolers are leaving on Monday for Monday through Friday for youth camp, and then the following week is middle school
Mhm.
week. And the following week is grade school week. So
Yeah.
we're going to be praying for our students and our kids as they go off to camp.
Yeah, pray for me.
Yeah, pray for Garrett. Garrett's going to 2 out of
I'm
3
going to
weeks.
high school and middle school. In middle school, I think it's just me and the kids. So
There you go.
I'm just kidding. Pastor
Yeah.
Carson will be there. But
Yeah.
it's not, man. It's always for whatever reason, the week leading up to it always feels so exciting and daunting at the same time. But man, it's my favorite thing that we do. And when we get there, we have a ton of fun. it's so awesome to see the kids just like open up.
Yeah.
You struggle with that a lot, I think, in youth ministry, getting those middle school, high school kids to like put the cool factor aside and like to
Mhm.
really just like dive in. I feel like that's what's been really cool about watching our group specifically on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
The last 6 to 8 months is they've really opened up as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you have kids that aren't in that weekly, that come to summer camp with friends or whatever the case may be, or we notice that kids from other churches that maybe don't go super often, but they want to be a part of youth camp.
Mhm.
It's just something about being there and these 700 kids being in a room
Yeah.
worshiping together. It's just everything just falls off the awkwardness or
Mhm.
Yeah.
the anxiousness of being there, and these kids just open up and worship, and it's wild to witness,
Yeah.
and we have
But
a
it
ton of fun.
sticks though.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like
they
you-
come back on
They
fire.
come
and-
back and it's almost like you got a different youth group
Mhm.
and you're just like, wow, like
Yeah.
and
It's cool.
and it's
The life change that happens
Oh,
is
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so as long as you can
Incredible.
just get them to shower a few times,
I
and,
was just about to
and
say,
eat their
if you would
meals.
like
and-
to, if you would like to donate Febreze spray
Yeah.
to Pastor
you wanna
Carson,
sponsor youth camp.
sponsor
Yeah.
sponsor some Febreze.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
would greatly
And
appreciate it.
that's-
So youth camp,
It's a good time.
and then June 30th, Friday, June 30th is our Legacy Makers Golf Tournament.
Oh yeah.
Garrett, tell us a little bit about that. Like what you need volunteers,
Yeah.
sponsorships. You can still register for it to be a part of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about it a little bit. This is something that we started last year. It's going to be an annual tournament for us. We're going to use it each year. There'll be a couple of different objectives that we're trying to reach with the proceeds from the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
This year, we're kind of continuing what we started last year. We're going to be gifting a couple of scholarships for students in the
Awesome.
Philippines who
Yeah.
are transferring into like a college type of education
Mhm.
through Johnny Moore, our partner there in the Philippines. We did that last year. Our goal is to do a couple more again this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, we're taking a group of about 20 folks down to Guatemala, Costa Shalom, another partner of ours, later this fall. And with that, we're aiming to gift the almost 100 kids that they have down there, all different ages and male, female, just kind of a wide variety of folks down there that just have a need for a lot of things outside of just kind of a relationship with God and just love and nurturing and all that kind of stuff. But one big need that they have each year is just shoes for the children. So our goal is to provide a formal pair of shoes and a pair of tennis shoes for each of those kids.
Yeah.
And then anything above and beyond just kind of goes back into our Legacy Makers Fund, which we use to support our local and global missions efforts and projects throughout the year. So it's going to be a ton of fun. We had a blast last year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing great with the sponsorships, but we're still looking for a few more to hit our goal. And then, like I said, above and beyond that, like it only helps from there. So
Yeah.
we would love for you to consider sponsoring if you've got a family or a friend or a neighbor that has a company that might be interested in sponsoring. Some of those sponsor packages come with foursomes if they want to play as well, or if they just want to sign up to play. Just share that with everybody that you can that might be interested. It's generationsgolf.com, or you can go to our website, g.church. There's a banner at the top.
Yeah.
We're taking sponsorship registrations through next Friday, the 16th, and player registration ends the following Friday, the 23rd. But it's going to be a ton of fun. We're excited. So.
We've had people, even if it's not a business sponsor, we've had people just like sponsor a hole and put their like grandkids' name.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's
so
great.
you can do a variety of different things if you don't know a business and you just want to give to it, and like, you believe in like the mission and what we're trying to do, you can just give and put your grandkids' name or whatever you want to do.
We've had a few kind of like in memory of kind of sponsorships, things like that.
Which
So
is incredible.
there's a ton of different options to get involved partner wise through sponsorships or just signing up to play. And so check that out.
That's
and
awesome.
It'll be a good time.
So, and then also capping off kind of summer, our G Kids, I believe it's July 10th through the 13th is
13th.
having their VBS,
Oh yeah.
and it's going to be a Monday through Thursday night.
Yeah, 6
from
o'clock to 8:30.
Yeah, 6 to 8:30. So if you would love to volunteer for that, or if you want your kid to be a part of VBS, I believe it's 4-year-old to 5th graders that can attend. It's going to be an incredible time. Pastor Madeline and her team have been working very, very
It's been
hard.
fun to see.
Very hard, to get ready for it. So
Yeah, we got to see the rocket ships.
yeah, you'll see on Sunday
Pretty
there's
awesome.
some rocket ships in the lobbies, upstairs and downstairs. Look incredible.
Oh yeah.
Just promoting that. So go to our website, g.church, or the Church Center app to register your kid. But again, we just want to say thank you for hopping on with us. We hope that you have an incredible week, and we can't wait to see you back here at Generations Church for part 2 of our Summer 7 series this Sunday. God bless.
See ya.